pictures for past. Oh, we're doing this. We should do tentacle hands.
Oh,
tentacle hands and say peanut butter. Nobody's here yet.
I thought you were about to say penis. I'm sorry. I don't know why. It like the way you dragged it out.
Penis butter. No.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to
okay. Hello.
the Reaper, the first Reaper book club live show for Queen of Teeth by Haley Piper. So I'm gonna have my awesome co-host Kelsey from Simon Slashers and Big Peanut Butter from It Came From the Page.
Big peanut butter.
Big peanut butter. Talk a little bit about their channels in a second before we get into the peanut butterness of it all, I guess. But just really quick for next month, my co-host will be Kitty from Spicy Cats Reads, and we will be reading Suffer the Darkness by Yolanda Seftsos, and this is available on Scribd on ebook, and it's also 99 cents on Kindle right now. So if anybody wants to read it, and I think it's only 132 pages or so, and I've been seeing awesome stuff. So I'm super excited to read this with everybody next month. And yeah, so take it away, whoever wants to go first to talk about their channels a little bit.
Hi, I'm Andrew from It Came From the Page. I read trashy books, and that's what I do. Read novelizations, movie tie-in books, other miscellaneous garbage. That's what my channel is.
I am Kelsey from Slime and Slashers, and I must read out the comment that I'm seeing way before you guys from Jack in the Bookstack. Peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly
I love
time,
it.
peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter. Without the jelly. Anyway, I am Slime and Slashers, like I said. I do your normal booktube stuff. Like, I talk about books and shiz, like horror books specifically, hence why I'm here with my buds. We are the Crunk Bunch. We like to get wild, get crazy, talk horror, and I think that's fun. I also talk horror movies sometimes, and I'm going to be doing that a little bit more often because I just started a podcast feed, which is basically just going to be audio from my YouTube channel, but sometimes I might have special audio that's just on there. So check it out, Slime and Slashers on Spotify, Apple, a lot of places you could find podcasts, Podbean, etc., etc. That's it.
Yes, I love your podcast. I started listening to one of the ones from March, I think, or from a video from March. But yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. It's fun to see you on my like homepage for Spotify too.
Oh, so, that's so cute. Yeah, like great. I like seeing my logo on there. I'm like, it looks so cool.
So does Big Peanut Butter want to talk about the plot, or
I can talk about the plot? Yes, I can talk about the plot of Queen of Teeth. Very appropriate for me to be talking about this, but anyways, we'll just get into this. So you want me to go up to how far, like just maybe like the intro to the book kind of thing, or how detailed is this plot synopsis?
I guess keep it pretty big. I'll put a banner up for non-spoilers, and then we'll get to some. I'll ask a question and then we'll get to some.
This comments. Is a ghost. I don't know. Anyway, I was just Christine put a ghost and I'm like, yeah.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining for Queen of Teeth and for the Reaper Book Club.
I'm so excited to talk about this. So let's just get into this plot. We join our hero Yaya after a wonderful one-night stand. And it appears that she's had her period in the bed afterwards. And she's like, oh no, what is this? But it is not what she thinks. It might be a new set of teeth where there's not supposed to be teeth. And we find out that she is a part of a group of people who were exposed to a chemical by an evil pharmaceutical company. Are there any other types who basically go like, we own 50% of your entire existence because of this. So she has to go to regular checkups, but she only goes to checkups normally to this very specific company that like doses her up with things and like goes like they're quote unquote treating the problem that they cause, but there's something else is going on and it's wild and it's crazy. And you just kind of slowly discover as it goes on, the changes might not just be to the teeth. There might be more going on. and it's just her trying to figure out how to get help for the situation, what's going to happen after the situation commences, how does she view her own body when there's something else going on. I guess that's the most Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out the best way to.
I think that's good because it is a shorter book too.
Yeah,
so, and it kind of goes way more into sci-fi stuff than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, I guess it's the only other thing that I should mention is that's definitely a dystopian sci-fi universe, because like it changes. Like I think it's 1988 is when it drifts from our own timeline, although not by that much really when you think about it.
But I know. I was like, I mean, they still had like the same stuff happen, I feel like.
Yeah, but and it's just a slightly more like advanced police presence. They have literal tanks instead of just vehicles that are tanks but aren't called tanks.
Like, yeah, instead of them just coming out of the woodwork randomly.
Yeah. So it's like a kind of a dystopian police state ruled by corporations.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I guess I'll ask everybody in the comments, what was your star rating? And we can talk about our star rating too. Kelsey, do you want to say yours first?
Sure. I was really very pleased with this book. It made me feel sick at times, but like in a good way, because nothing usually affects me like that. I think it made me sick mostly because I'm a woman, and I thought about like, what if this was happening to me? And like, I just can't even imagine my body like that happening to my body. But at the same time, it sucks to live in the world she was living in. And so I really love where this went without going into spoilers. I read one other book by Hailey Piper before this, and I didn't really love it. Like everyone else really talks about how much they love The Possession of Natalie Glasgow. I thought it was okay. It wasn't my favorite possession story, even though it was unique. I gave that one like a 3 or 3.5. This one's easily at least a 4, if not 4.5. I'm still kind of thinking over it, but 4 is the least I'm going to give it. Like I'm really leaning towards a 4.5 because some of the messaging, like in symbolism that I found throughout the book was really powerful and really well done. And like I said, the body horror was really making me queasy, which is unusual for me. Like usually nothing affects me like that. But I was like into this and I was like I want to barf, but also this is crazy kind of thing.
Yeah, the writing and like the imagery in it was so vivid, especially right off the bat. I feel the same way. I was definitely like, I crossed my legs at some parts. I was like, I was like, oh no. And like, I think the descriptions of like just being a woman without having teeth down there, you know, like is very good. And like, oh yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
So like, yeah. I don't know where I was going with that, but yes, Big Peanut Butter. What was your rating?
I'm 5 stars, baby. 5 stars all the way through. I love this. Guess what, Kelsey? I guess that means you hated the book now.
No, I didn't.
Now
4.5 is freaking good.
I definitely thought Andrew would really like it, especially towards the end. It without getting into spoilers, when I was reading the ending, I was like, I bet Andrew really likes this. So
I was loving it the entire way through, and I was like, because I was like, the messaging on this is like, it starts out where it's like very like, I was kind of worried to talk about this, just like me coming in, because like I agree with all the statements, but I'm also like, well, I should be the one like being like, yeah, I was just like, does a dude need to be on this? But then it got into the more monstery bit, so I could be like, okay, whoosh, I can talk about giant monsters and not feel like I'm taking a platform that I shouldn't be taking. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I agree with pretty much everything this book says. It was just one of those things where it's like, it goes for it. It's like, it's one of those things where like parts of that book where you're like, at first you're kind of like, oh, I don't know. And then you think about it for 5 minutes and you're like, oh God, yeah, there's a lot of like real life analogs for this. And like, you could easily go for like, cause like at first I was like, oh, they own like 50% of her. Like, well, and then I was like, yeah, that's a man response to that, because any woman living in America has a lot of their reproductive rights very regimented by law, right? So it's just like it's very clearly making an analog to that. And
that felt relatable to me too. Like just how much like, you know, people like to have control over women's bodies, and I felt like that was very represented like in this book.
Yeah, it is. It was very well represented, and it also made me listening to this going like, I really hope Hailey Piper gets to write an alien book. You know, I wanted to write an alien book.
Yes. I think she did write an alien book. What's it called? It's there's something
sorry. Yeah, I meant in the world of the movie Alien. Sorry, that's me.
Oh,
Like I want to
I
read
was like,
that
yes,
tie-in
she has
alien book.
wrote an alien book.
Because I want to read her alien book as well, because I think I've had that on my thing. I've only read one other. I read A Worm and His Kings, or Worm and His Kings. Is that what it
The
is?
Worm and His Kings.
Yeah, and I really like that book. But yeah, so I'm excited to get to more of her stuff.
So I didn't even get that whole like that didn't even click with me. That part of the symbolism about like the state of America, like in that sense, towards like just women's autonomy or whatever. I got that just about like big healthcare and like no healthcare or like big corporations running everything and like profiting and like the police state. And there is like an actual man-made natural disaster that happened in Kentucky. We'll talk about when we get to the spoiler section.
Okay.
But yeah, I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely like pulled from stuff, and it has like a lot of great messages in it, but they're subtle. It's not like hitting you over the head constantly of being like, this is where you live and stuff. It's like you're still like in a dystopian, another world in a way. And
she builds on it in a very like. There's some really funny little jokes in this, because they very much imply that Charlton Heston was like one of the senators who like put together the police state. When like they're going through, and they're like, Senator Heston made that, and I was like, I like that.
yeah, it was like founding fathers-esque a little bit there. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Yeah, leave your star rating down below. Yes, it is very weird. I've been using that squid emoji recently as well. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Yay.
Oh my goodness, everyone's here.
Hello. Yes, Queen of Trees.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm not that cool.
Magenta. What a kitty. Hi, Bree.
Magenta's not even like a real color. I'm like, get out of here, nerd! Like, eat this man, eat this man.
Know.
Like, I feel like it was just like there was like 2 lines that man said, and I was like, somebody eat this man.
Well, that guy clearly couldn't be trusted. I was like, what's up with this dude?
Oh, I was
like,
when he said the Fight Club thing, I thought of you, Andrew, actually. I was like, oh my gosh, I know you're going to say something about that.
Right. I make fun of those people all the time, so it's amazing.
Yes, you should do voiceover work, Andrew.
Thank you. Hello.
Yes. 5 star. Oh, 3 stars. We got a 3 stars from Sherry. 5 stars, baby. 4 stars, so unique and much better than I expected. Oh, wow, that's awesome. It's probably closer to a 3.5, but I gave it 4 for some of the thematic connections I felt connected to. Yeah, I think it has like such a strong ending.
Oh, yeah.
3 stars. Awesome. 4 stars. 4 stars. Okay. I DNF'd the first time around, and the second time around was 4.5. Oh.
Yeah. I can see this being like a kind of book that you need to be in the right mood for.
I do agree with that. And I'm glad I read it when I did, even though I had no choice really, because I was like, either I read it today or I don't read it in time. But like I felt like I was in the right mindset to like dedicate the time and to really dive into something like this. And I really loved the weirdness, and I was ready for weird today. So I was like, yes, bitch. So it was a good day to read it.
I liked Natalie and Benny the Cannibal King more, but the author has such unique stories, so I'll definitely give another go. Yeah, the Cannibal King is fun. It's kind of like a fun supernatural slasher that takes place on Halloween.
Oh,
I want to read that one next, but or The Worm and His Kings, because I have that one, but I haven't read it still.
Kelsey, where do you stand on cosmic horror?
I like cosmic horror, but I've only read a few. Like I read The Fisherman. I read Oh my god, the book that was
Hello.
on my top 20. The Nothing That Is. I love that one too. Yeah, I'm finding that I do like cosmic horror.
Okay,
a
you
lot.
will probably like A Worm and His Kings because that is cosmic.
That's what people told me. And
And
I'm
this,
like, yeah.
the ending of this book also goes like hard cosmic, where I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh my god, what is life? Oh
It
my
did
gosh.
get very big. I was like not expecting that. I was like, whoa.
I was like, whoa, man.
Sitting around
I
here,
like
you guys
that.
are making me want to read it now. Okay, awesome. Well, we are going to go ahead and get into spoilers because it is like a very short book, so it's tough to talk about without spoilers. So let's spoil this baby. Where's my spoilers? Okay.
Ooh, I like
Spoiler
the
alert.
skull and crossbones. Like,
Yeah.
beware.
Beware. Spoilers beware. You're in for a
So
scare.
I gave it 4.5 stars just because it felt like Yaya, like the part where she, I guess, dies. I felt like she needed a little bit more and was kind of done dirty because she's such a great character. I was like really bummed about that. And when Magenta like took over, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I wanted Yaya there at the end. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I was trying to say I agree, and I just kept
Like,
saying her name.
I agree.
Yeah. I agree. That's how I was feeling at first, but that was because I thought the book was kind of over, and I was like, I think this book is over, and that last hour is going to be something else, like on my audiobook. Like I thought it was going to be like a little like afterwards or something, because I was like, oh, this story is over. I was kind of like, oh, I kind of hope it gets a bit bigger, and then I was like, my dreams are coming true.
Yes. It got so big at the end. So do you guys think Magenta took over the world? Like,
I hope so. Good for her. I
because
mean,
the
yeah.
way
girl.
it ended with the last line, like a magenta storm, like
it was like the sky was
like,
turning.
Yeah, it made it sound like everything was encompassed by magenta. And the way I pictured when she was like that huge monster at the end was almost like a mouth that could encompass everything, like almost swallow the world in a way.
Yeah.
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 I'll
like
definitely round up to 5 on Goodreads, but I felt like I should have had like a bigger part, I don't know, towards the end.
I understand that. I do. And I don't think like there was a certain point or thing about the book that made me take away a half star. I am leaning more towards a 4.5 than a 4. I think it's going to be a solid 4.5. Just 4.5s and 5s together for me, those ratings are like, I really liked it. I really loved it. These are standout reads. The only reason it's a 4.5 versus 5 is just because like I wouldn't call it an all-time favorite, but it is a standout read of the year for me. Anything that's a 4.5 or a 5 is a standout for me.
Right. I think like, if I was going like just purely based on like you can kind of see how this is structured. I've read other books that are kind of structured like this, where you're like, oh, something's going on with them. The first person they kill, you're like, I don't give a shit. Like, that's cool. Kill that person. And then it's like, oh, and then they go too far. And you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I understand. I've seen that structure happen before, especially in monster books. But for me, I think it was just all kind of executed the way it was executed and like the emotionality behind it all. And I was just kind of like really into the characters. So it's like, if I was a person who talked objectively, but if I was a person who talked objectively, I should be getting eaten by Magenta. So hopefully she'd leave me alone, because I don't want to sound like that guy who's like, Fight Club.
How did you guys feel about Doc?
I loved Doc. Like, I think Doc was my favorite character because she was so multifaceted. Like, I love how all of a sudden, she's working for the big bad, kinda, but also she doesn't really have a choice, and also she's kind of falling for Yaya, and I just like all these complexities that Haley Piper was able to put into Doc, essentially, and that was my favorite character for sure.
Yeah, I think she had a great arc. I think at the end, her decision was interesting. I was like, oh.
And I think that decision at the end is what does separate this from other books of its ilk, because almost every time because that type of decision always comes up in like big books like this, and almost always it's the opposite. Like the opposite is what the opposite way of solving the problem is decided upon, where it's the
Yeah.
destruction ending usually. So I thought that was really interesting, and I think Doc is like a super like deep and complex character. Whether I love that, I love reading about her, and I love that, like, her as a character. I don't know if Loomis has just knocked a whole bunch of stuff over. It's
Oh
fine.
no,
He-
Loomis!
he's
Loomis
like,
is like, I'm a part of this conversation.
He's
Loomis
like,
is
I
like-
like Doc, and you're about to bash her.
I was gonna say, I don't know if I liked her as a person, but she was great to read about, and I like all the complexities of her character. You know what I mean? Like, just like, it's just one of those things of like, if I met this person though, would I like them? I don't know, but I love reading about her journey.
She was in between a rock and a hard place. And
Yeah.
a lot of her life decisions, like, you know, being put in the tough spot about the Kentucky thing, but also being a woman who had to have the same kind of checkups as Yaya
Right.
and all of
Yeah.
that stuff, and kind of
Yeah.
being discriminated against, but also being in a position where she had to kind of work for these big old guys who were the real big peanut butter dudes who are bad dudes. So she kind of was at odds with herself even, and
Yeah.
with her own beliefs, I think, deep down.
Yeah.
So the Kentucky thing that she kept talking about, when you learn more about what happened, you're like, oh, this happened before, but they basically like dissolved the town. I thought of, there was in 2000, in I think it was Martin County, there was a coal slurry spill that was really bad. It's in the top 10 man-made natural disasters in the United States. And like to this day, there's still like high levels of lead in that county and like the river and stuff around there. But that happened in Kentucky. And I was like, oh, like that's so crazy. Like, of course there is a man-made natural disaster in Kentucky too. So every state probably has one. But that one is definitely like a big one that 23 years later, it's still like affecting the environment there. So I was like, I wonder if Haley Piper knew about that or just guessed.
Yeah. That's
That would
really
be
interesting.
so cool if she did
And-
know and like put it in there as like a little Easter egg almost. That would be interesting.
I also love that weird, like the little bits of world building we get kind of throughout this thing where you're like, oh, there's like, they've kind of succeeded from like America, but they haven't really. So they're like this collective of like the Midwest have kind of like collected into like a group that's like super militarized. And they're like, they haven't on paper left the United States, but like they basically have. That's why it's like a lot easier for like the company to come in and just wipe everything out there,
Yep.
because they have like a bigger sharehold and stuff like that. And I think I always find that stuff a lot, when you're building a world, a lot more interesting than like all of America is like this, where it's like it's a lot more interesting is that it's like there's all these like weird little pockets where things are escalating, and it's like that's kind of what it's like in real life when you like, you know, if you look at something like Florida where it's got the most draconian laws ever, and it's like, and it's escalating there, and it's like it's not the same everywhere, but everywhere else slowly escalates alongside that. And it's just like a really interesting way to think about it, especially when you're building a world. So I think there's like some excellent sci-fi world building aspects to this, and it's like it weaves it in so naturally, which is something that's not easy to do. And it's like why I hate most sci-fi books, because like honestly, because as soon as it goes like, and we got the heavy water that you drink and it makes you fly, and it's like usually they like add a whole bunch of dumb things, or like it's Numerica 7 and something like that, and you're like, ugh, I don't care. But like this one, it's like, oh, it all works together to make the story make sense too. So it's not so it all kind of works together, I think, is what I was really impressed.
Yeah, I like the little like the subtleness of stuff. It wasn't like, oh, here's like a whole chapter about it. It's like, nope,
Yeah.
it's just a sentence like here. Yeah.
I
It's
do
really-
like that
it's done really
too.
well.
And even though it's just with like a sentence or just here and there kind of added in and not like full on explanation, I don't think it was confusing. I think you got the gist pretty easily. And I do think for such a short book, she did a great job at building this world. It's supposed to be like this other dystopian, kind of similar to our world, but there's still some differences she had to convey, and she did that very
Yeah.
well with such a short page count overall.
It's like an alternate timeline almost. Like Fight
Yeah.
Club still exists, but like there's this also happening. So yeah, let us know in the comments what you guys thought of the writing, or like your favorite part too. What was your guys' favorite part?
I'm gonna say when that the last when Magenta is going ham on this freaking this huge laboratory, and it's just wild, and the writing is also like, it was like hitting me really hard because I'm like, what is going on? Like the cosmic elements of trying to understand Magenta as like a being, as a thinking creature, and like what it's like because it's so far outside of humanity, and she's just like being like, "Wow, eat you, banana man!" And it's like Pachamba, and I'm like, "Whoa, they got Pachamblood," and it's just like her like going around and like throwing things, killing
And the
people.
tentacles just like everywhere. Like, wasn't one just like hanging out like where Doc was or something?
Yeah,
like the end, and she was like, I mean, she's here, but
it's so
like
funny.
she's not here. But
and then when it's like when she's like huge and giant, and you're like, I like that because it's like they are like Haley Piper is kind of setting that up from the very beginning, where she like starts referencing old Godzilla movies and stuff like that, where she's like setting you up to be like, bam, it's a full-on kaiju fight at the end of this, and you're like, yeah, kill the police, you giant monster, go.
It's so like fun. Airplanes and stuff.
Yeah,
Andrew's gonna love this part.
Yes.
Yeah, I think one of my most favorite parts and like most memorable, like thinking about it visually, like I can still visualize it, is when she first kind of realizes Magenta needs more than just peanut butter, and that's when she finds the bird head in her yas, you know, like,
yeah,
and it all comes out. I was just like, no, ma'am, like,
yeah, that was like, oh goodness, you're not supposed to put that up there. Oh no,
no,
that freaked me out too. Like I was like,
that poor bird. The poor birdie.
I was like, didn't know what was going to go on.
I did think one of my other favorite scenes I really liked is that I literally, I'm not gonna lie, I did say awe at this point, where there's like that point where like Magenta first like comes out and it's got like the little horns and stuff, and then Doc comes in and is like petting it and is like, it's okay, it's all good, and I was like, oh, this is kind of sweet, and then I'm like, wait, this is weird. I'm a weird.
I know, when the horns were introduced, I was like, what? And the word cleft kept being
that like made me sick. Like I don't know why.
Why is it like? Because I guess it was moving. It's like
her body was like
up her body,
like splitting to make room for it. I think so. Like as her body's kind of, or it's needing more room in her body's kind of like splitting up and up.
Yeah.
And then at the end, when it's like literally here, and it's like, nom, 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 nom. It's like, oh my goodness.
I did not think cute when I read that part. I was just like, whoa. Thinking about horns,
like so supportive.
I think
Doc,
yeah. For me, it was just like, I think I would have found it more horrifying had they been like, oh, it's so painful, but she was always like, it's actually not that painful. It's not that bad. It's just strange. And
I was just thinking how I would feel, and I was like, well,
probably
I don't care what they claim. It's not painful. Like, because
of the healing properties and stuff too, right? Like that was the whole like ADP's like thing, is to be able to sell it, like to be able to sell what Magenta was to people for like healing properties and stuff, which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know where I start this. To explain my rating a bit, I thought the plot was interesting, love the message, but I just don't love Haley Piper's writing. I have read a few others and feel the same. Something's missing.
That's fair.
I've read almost all of her books and love them all. I am a Haley Piper fan for sure and will read everything she puts out. Crystal, if you're a fan, I know she's going to be at the Halloween Hangover at the Barnes & Noble here in Richmond. I think it's like the Friday and Saturday after Halloween. It's like November 4th or something. Lexi let me know about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes. I'm so excited. Cool. I mostly loved everything, but thought some of the plot needed clarification, and the middle section was a bit draggy and repetitive. I feel like it got pretty heavy with the sci-fi stuff. I wasn't expecting. I was like, whoa, we're going there, like with Doc explaining stuff and getting really technical and being like what Magenta could actually do, like absorbing other people and like those properties and like getting bigger and like I guess evolving in a way. I was like, this is I don't want to say it's not high sci-fi for sure. It's not like that, but because I think it's still digestible. But I was like, this is like intense and big.
Yeah, definitely intense. Like I didn't think it was too science heavy to where it was confusing or too much explanation. But yeah, Magenta eating the first bird was great. But also
Poor
when
birdie.
they described her eating a person like the person was the banana dipped in peanut butter, kind of. I liked that. And I also liked when you got the like inner workings of Magenta as she's absorbing the others and like realizes like I'm more than what I was. I'm more than human. And even though it was sad to see Yaya go, I kind of liked hearing that inner kind of musings of Magenta at that point. So I would say that's my favorite scene, and the banana, like her eating a person like banana dipped in peanut butter.
I do kind of wish that Magenta got a little bit of Yaya being like, blah, 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 like her like smart assness near the end, because that would have just been fun. Be like, I'm gonna eat your banana, bitch, and like no, like
Yeah.
I would love to have heard like Yaya like doing her smart ass bits in that.
Yaya is such a great character. Oh my gosh, you just kind of fall in love with her and have so much empathy for her immediately. What was I gonna say? Oh, so the voice of Magenta and like how she was voiced reminded me of Born by Jeff Vandermeer. It's like part of the Southern Reach stuff, but it's about like an organism is found, and it's kind of like Magenta. It's like, I don't know, I was born yesterday, or I don't know, like what am I supposed to be? I don't even know what I'm supposed to be, and it's kind of like this weird thing that like can morph and stuff and doesn't know like what it is, and it gets bigger and bigger. But it gave me those vibes to kind of go into my next question for you guys. What movie does this make you think of other than teeth? Like, other than the movie.
Kind of like Alien, like how the alien busts out of people's stomachs, but like busting out from down below, but more friendly. a lot more friendly to
It's
the
like
host.
it's like that bit of like Spaceballs where it's like, hello, my baby. No, I was thinking a lot of like Videodrome during that, especially when it's like her entire body is like kind of a vagina with the teeth and it's like there. So I'm like that kind of like Videodrome where he like reaches into the thing and he's like, oh, I've got a gun now. It's also a penis. Whoa. And then I don't know if either of you guys have ever seen it. There's a movie called Tokyo Gore Police. Which is just this weird, wild movie.
That sounds familiar.
At one point, there is like a lady who's like half of her is like a giant mouth, and it's just going like nom 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 nom, and I'm like, oh, it's like that. I'm kind of visioning that right now. And then especially near the end, I'm like, oh, this is like if The Thing just went ham, because especially when it's like describing like there's just like fleshy tendrils that are like kind of like holding her up kind of thing. So I'm like kind of like, ooh, it's full on The Thing. It's going.
Thing. That is a great comparison.
That is,
yeah, definitely like body horror movies definitely stick out. I actually, thinking of Born, I thought of Annihilation.
Oh yeah.
How people just start their DNA like starts to change and morph into something else, like and also like that's an all female movie like cast and stuff. The book, and it's a book as well, the Southern Reach trilogy by Jeff Vandermeer. I like the movie better than the book, actually, or the books. I read all the books and I loved them before the movie came out. And then I was like, oh, wow, like you can like do so much with it because it's so ambiguous and stuff.
Yeah.
But I definitely thought of Annihilation a lot with it.
I kind of just now when Andrew said The Thing, just like looking at the book cover, it actually reminds me of The Color Out of Space, the movie adaptation, because there's a lot of pink hues, but it still has a lot of thing-like body horror elements and like imagery, and it reminds me of The Thing a lot. Like when I saw the movie The Color Out of Space, I was like, this is so much like The Thing in terms of the effects and stuff. It just reminded me a lot of that. So I think it's got The Thing elements, but also the color palette that like the book screams to me with the magenta.
That's a really smart.
I pictured a lot of like, well, Yaya wears a lavender suit. That's kind of her outfit, and everything else seems very gray and militarized and stuff around her. And she's like this bright light almost, or like this bright color. And then magenta is like magenta, or and what is Doc? Doc has like white hair or something.
Well, yeah, because like she's like fully like albinized after after getting the
yeah, and
infection.
she doesn't have color. Like I think colors definitely, they were really vivid in this.
Yeah, and I think it's probably for a reason, because it's like a metaphor, it's like symbolic and stuff, like about how they kept saying that like magenta is not a real color, and she's like, I am a real color.
Yeah.
Basically. So I feel like that's very symbolic and meaningful.
My favorite thing is like when Doc is like, yeah, bitch, no color's real. It's how we interpret light. Shut up.
I like
I love that part, because I'm just like, that's like a line that like I feel like every man at a bar needs to hear. Like it just needs to like pop up and be like, yeah, bitch, no color's real. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
it's true.
Doc is so funny. And I will say that stuff did seem very like coincidental in this, like with Doc and the other guy from the doctor's office or whatever. I was also sad when Yaya was out of the picture. I love her and how it worked. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, so I was gonna say about that guy at the doctor's office, knowing what you know about him, I think he was stalking her. Like I think that's kind of what I got, the vibe I get thinking about it afterwards, like where he's picked out a target and he's kind of just watching.
Oh, okay, so you don't think it was a coincidence at all? That makes more sense to me.
No,
yeah, that makes it more
creepy
meeting, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because he lives so far away. Because like they detail about how they
in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
That part with the cops is hilarious. She was like, "Oh, I just got my period,"
and the cops are like, "Bah!"
They're like, "Oh God, you're talking about your period." No,
my God.
They run.
That is so funny. That happens in a show, Dolores Roach or whatever, the horror of Dolores Roach. She's like, "I have my period. Can I like borrow something from you?" And it's a woman, and she's like, "Of course." Like, just goes into her house, like in her apartment. And I'm like, okay, use the period card.
It reminded me of there's like a scene in Mayfly which is very similar, with like two cops being like just like hanging out. And it's like, I have grown to love bumbling cops interview someone who just murdered someone scenes, because it's just I love it.
Is that the Halloween decoration scene?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. These look really real.
Oh, and she's like, oh.
That's great. Those scenes are fun.
They are.
One of my favorite quotes is, "No one ever listened to an empty peanut butter jar left abandoned on the bathroom floor," in reference to Brian saying magenta isn't real color. Yes, that was great. There's some great lines in this. I wish I wrote down the one about her. Yaya's like, I've screamed my whole life. I've been screaming and nobody paid attention, and now I'm causing the screaming and everybody's paying attention.
Yeah, I love that.
Good, yeah.
There's some great lines in this book. Yeah.
I just really like seeing the transformation of Yaya's body, and I feel like some of that is possibly also a connection with her own transition as a trans woman. Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
that is a great comparison.
Yeah, I definitely was getting like those kinds of like vibes and like detailing with like the complexities of gender and stuff like that, which I thought was really cool.
I said that last night on that word is a lot in the audio. I feel like it was like cleft, and the cleft is moving, and I was like, it's moving.
And it's moving up her body, and I was like, I'm gonna hurl. Just because I imagined it happening, and I was like, blah, 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 blah.
It's so funny because there's that scene where like there's this guy who's like creeping on Doc, and then she like like comes and she's like whomp, and it's just like and it's just
look
like,
at my
like,
cleft.
Yeah, and it's like the giant teeth, and like the teeth are like moving the vagina, like the boobies and everything. And then I was like, when I heard that, I was like, oh whoa, that's so cool. And I was like, oh wait, it's supposed to be horrifying. It's not cool.
Well, it's cool that she's like kind of saying like, you still think I'm hot now? I'm gonna eat your ass. Like, I love that.
Yeah, that was great.
It was so good. I loved it.
Yes. Yeah. That is a great analogy.
Yeah, because Yaya was just like, she doesn't seem even surprised when she finds the tooth.
I know, she's like not even like, I'd be freaking out. I'd be like, holy crap, there's something like wrong with me.
Yeah,
But
she was
she
just
is
like, I
kinda
guess I
like-
gotta go to a real doctor. That's gonna
Yeah.
be expensive. Shit.
Yeah,
Like,
she's like, oh no,
yeah.
I guess there's a problem, I guess, maybe.
Something like that made it even creepier to me. I don't know why, because like if it was like monster teeth, where it's like sharp teeth, like that would not have been as disturbing because it's just like nom nom nom, I'm a monster. But when it's like human teeth, I'm like, oh, gross! What the fuck? No.
Well,
Ugh.
she was trying to explain it. She was like, it could be like a tumor or something, or like a twin in utero, and it's finally come out. But isn't she like 30?
Yeah, she's like 31 in this. Like, that's
Yeah.
weird.
I'm like, that might be a little too late. Yeah. I feel like you're taking this like too like casually.
Yeah, she was just like, oh, whatevs, I've accepted it. I need to go to the doctor.
Just like, this is gonna be expensive. I don't want to do this. So, yeah. I think you're right, Crystal, because there is a lot about that in the
Yeah.
Lord that is Kings as well. Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yes. That is, I was so creeped out by the Wilderness Kings, by that cult. Ugh, so creepy.
Yeah, cults are scary.
Yeah. I
Oh.
definitely saw Yaya's church as connected to ginger identity.
Definitely.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. Nice.
Makes sense.
Yes. Yes, we'll go book shopping.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Ooh.
Yes, I'm excited for Halloween Hangover. Also, I gave this 3.5. I can't picture things when I read, and I feel like that made the second half less. Yeah, there was a lot of imagery in this for
Yeah.
sure, Lexi. Like, especially that ending.
Yeah.
Like, you have to like, somebody should. There might be fan art out there or something of it, because
Yeah.
there has to be, because you have to see Magenta just like scaling a building. Like,
Yeah, well, yeah, and then like those scenes where like they're using like sonic weapons on her, and she's like, "I made other mouths all over myself, and it goes in there, and it, like, and then I'm gonna put fatty deposits, and it makes it so the mouth is like going
and she's
okay." And I'm like,
healing super fast.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, whoa! Like I'm like trying to be like,
Amazing.
how do I envision this? This is so cool.
Magenta and Making
I just think
Very
of those
interesting.
spider costumes that people would wear where they got strings attached and multiple arms, but instead
Yeah.
you get the string somewhere else.
You
And it's
could-
attached like multiple arms. It's horrible.
you could have a his and hers costume where the man is just a peanut butter, like Jif, like just
Yes.
big thing of peanut butter.
I should try to make that, cosplay that, and meet Haley Piper.
Yes. Oh my god, yes.
She'd be like, what's going on?
She'd be like, this is the
I'm
best
just-
costume ever.
I'm just imagining Alex like dressed as peanut butter, being like, "Yeah, okay, I'll take your picture." Like,
Where are my paints? And they're just
Dude, forgot his parents. I'm so
that's
mad.
it. You'd be like, "Well, colors aren't even real, so don't worry about it. That could be any color. Don't worry about it."
I was getting Venom
Oh,
vibes.
yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, because they talk to each other too.
Yeah, yeah.
Hungry.
Peanut butter.
One of my favorite lines is when they're fighting the cops at the end, and it's like, "Oh, they don't always have to be peanut butter. Sometimes they can be jelly."
Jelly,
Ka-chunk.
yeah.
And I'm like, yes,
That
girl.
was so great.
Just jellerize them cops.
Yes.
Jello
Little
rise.
shop of horrors as the plague gets bigger and bigger, takes
Yeah.
over.
Feed me, yeah, yeah.
Annihilation.
Yeah, it's such a good movie.
Yeah.
There was a moment where Yaya was questioning if she was being sexist by all the what I depict.
That was a good touch.
Me, when I was listening to that, I was like, just do it. Take us all out. We don't just go. Take us all out. It's fine. You're doing good.
I think those are all of my questions. I guess like if you guys had to pick a part that you didn't like your least favorite part or your least favorite thing that happened.
It's hard to pick out a least favorite part because I
That
really don't
man
have
talks.
like, yeah, I missed Yaya when technically she was absorbed fully and dead, but she still kind of was there, and her consciousness was just mixed in and made Magenta more Magenta, kind of. along with all the others. But of course, she wasn't her distinct personality who was Yaya. Like, she wasn't her distinct self when she was absorbed into Magenta. So I guess with along your lines of thinking, Katrina, I was a little sad about her leaving, but I really didn't have too many negative parts about this book for me. It was really enjoyable. I don't know if I could pick one part I didn't like absolutely like. I mean, I was grossed out by parts, don't get me wrong. When the first tooth is found, I'm like, what? Like, she's so nonchalant. I was like, what the hell?
Like, it's my period. Oops, I did it in a stranger's bed.
I did love how Doc was like, yeah, it's cool.
Fell out.
Like, I love how Doc is like, it's fine, don't worry about it, you're good. You want breakfast? Like, it was like, oh, that's nice.
That was nice.
Yeah, Doc did not care really, which, yeah, how could, yeah.
I mean, after you fought a flesh dragon in Kansas, I guess you can.
She's all like, I've seen it all.
She's like, I've seen
even know. Yeah. She's been through it.
I think the only thing for me is that I think I might have wanted all of the stuff in Kansas and just its own chapter, because it just, you get bits and pieces, and I kind of wanted to like get a little bit more of a full understanding of what happened there.
Yeah.
But like, I also think my imagination can just fill in the points, right? So it's not a real criticism. It's just I like this book. I could have used it being a little bit longer. You know what I mean?
And
like,
Doc kept thinking about that too.
Yeah.
And like, what can I learn from this experience? Like, I don't want to repeat it, but it's happening.
Yeah. And I just wanted more explanations about what a flesh dragon looks like, because they talk about flesh dragons a lot. And I'm like, is she a giant dragon with big wings, but it's all fleshy? Like, what's the deal with flesh dragons?
What's the deal with flesh dragons? Yes, exactly. I would have liked that too.
I saw such a funny, to get off the subject for 1 second, I saw a funny TikTok with Elaine at the movies, but it was like for me at Oppenheimer, and it was like, I don't care.
Oh, when she sees that movie,
English patient. Oh, that's so good.
Talking about in the desert or whatever. Who cares? Like what you do in the desert. And I was like, why is that fitting so well for Oppenheimer?
That's so good.
That's amazing. I gotta find that.
Yeah, to get off topic for a second. But yeah, so I'm glad everybody had fun with it. Is there any final thoughts? I think I talked about everything. Another good a good quote too was the Magenta quote. Knives wouldn't break her. What is it? Knives wouldn't break her hard-earned consciousness. Knives never understood.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. My only other thing is I have a genuine question. Have you ever had to deal with the Fight Club guys?
I was a Fight Club teenager, so I was right there. I was like, good ultra freaking cookies or whatever. So like,
come on, you do the full Tyler Durden thing right now. Come on.
I liked Fight Club, but I never was like, bro, have you seen Fight Club?
I've always been low-key annoyed at Fight Club. So it's like,
actually, it's Amy's book club pick for her book club is Invisible Monsters. I loved Invisible Monsters in high school so much. I remember one of my teachers asking me what that book was about because it was like on my desk and I was reading it. And I was like, oh yeah, it's about this model that like blows her face off or whatever, you know? And he was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah,
obviously not. I'm cool.
Yeah, dude.
Crystal loves that book, but right now in the book club chat for Amy's book club, everyone's like, no, we don't like it.
I saw that and I was like, I'm good. I'm good.
I haven't read it yet just because I ran out of time. I really wanted to read it.
I did run out of time, and then everyone was like, meh. And I was like, okay, I don't need to.
I loved Chuck Palahniuk when I was like in high school. I was like all about it. I was all about Fight Club, Survivor, Lullaby, Haunted. I only remember that first story though, but I read it a long time ago. What else did I love? But yeah, every time any teacher asked me what I was reading, it was like a Chuck Palahniuk book, and they're like, or like Choke. I was so into Choke, and I was like, why am I reading this?
And the teacher's like, we're worried about Katrina. They all have a teacher's meeting.
They're like taking notes. They're like,
reading.
Chuck Palahniuk banned this book. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I was that person that loved Fight Club. I watched Fight Club like all the time too, and I had a poster on my wall. I think I told you that, Andrew. I was like, I was the person in high school.
I'm so sorry. Magenta would have eaten you. I'm so sorry.
I know, but Yaya watches it. She sits
Yeah.
through the whole movie.
Well, she doesn't
Well,
really
she doesn't
like
care
it
though.
though.
She don't
She's
give
like,
a
I hate it.
She's like I've been with people who I show a movie to and they're not into it. And I'm like, that's what happens. And but like the guy who like throws a little hissy fit, he's like, no, you did it. And I'm like,
oh, when he
"Whatever,
says like
loser."
you just don't understand it, I was like, I hate it when people like
Whatever,
say that, especially about books and stuff. They're like, you just don't understand it, and it's like, what? No, everybody takes things differently.
Yeah,
Like,
I hate when people like use that as a way to like downgrade themselves because people use it so often when they're like, oh, I guess I just didn't understand it. I was like, no, you understood it. You just didn't like it. It's fine. Believe in
Yeah.
yourself.
yeah, when people
Believe in
talk bad
yourself.
like that, like, oh, I must not understand it. I do that sometimes, but yeah, I don't like that saying that. It's like it just wasn't for me. Like, just say
Yeah.
that, or be like, it just wasn't for you. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not that you didn't get it or anything. Yeah, the pool, I think because it's the first story, that's why everybody remembers it. And it's just like ingrained. Like, how could you forget? How could
So
you forget
that's-
that story?
Haunted.
Yes, by Chuck Palahniuk.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
have
like
that
short
book.
stories. You haven't read that?
I haven't read it, but I own the book somewhere. I can't remember where I put it. But yeah, I actually have that book. I should read it.
Oh, that's sad, Crystal. I haven't read it in a really long time, though. But I remember really liking it when I did. Oh, Christine didn't hate it.
There you go.
Yay!
It's fair.
Yeah. Yeah,
didn't-
that's such a crazy story.
I didn't hate it, but like I didn't read it, so I can't comment.
You're gonna
It's
like
just-
meet up with Crystal. She's gonna think you have to sit down and listen to the entire audiobook for
Tell me
for
if you hate
Invisible
it.
Monsters. And she like watches you the whole time.
And then
you're
I'd be
like-
scared, like, oh, I want to like it so bad.
you
Like,
you try to like exit out of like her hotel room and you're like, wait a minute, I can't get out. The locks are gone. And she's like, you must listen to the entire audiobook first.
listen to it and tell me your thoughts.
Oh my gosh, the pool story. Yes. You guys. It's messed up. It's like about I think it's a writer's retreat or something.
That's
and
already
like,
scary enough.
yeah, and they're telling their own stories. So it's like, it's not, I don't even think it really happened in the book, if I remember correctly, but it's been forever since I've read it. But yeah, it's like, I don't think this actually happened, but it might actually have happened in real life. I hope
Maybe
it picks
it will.
up for you, Mindy.
Now it's just turning into the welcome to the Invisible
I-
Monsters.
I
Yeah.
want to know what this
Christine,
is.
stop!
Oh no.
On that note, I think this is the end of our chat. I thank you guys. Thank you, Kelsey and Andrew, for being my first co-host for the Reaper Book Club, and also for anybody who entered my giveaway on my announcement video. Stay tuned for next week. I still have to enter everybody in the spinner wheel, but there will be some giveaways of some stickers for that. And I hope you guys have a fantastic night. I know Lexi is sprinting for Xmas Evil until like 10:30ish Eastern. So definitely pop over there. I don't have it pulled up, but I will link it in the in this video afterwards. But yeah, have a good night and thanks for joining. Bye.
Get yourself some peanut
butter.